Hi, everyone. I am here with our wonderful Heather Chun. Heather, would you like to introduce yourself, just kind of like your title, your role in the organization, what you do?
Absolutely happy to be here with you, Bree. My name is Heather Chun. My pronouns are she or they, and I am the prevention coordinator at RCC. What that looks like is running our Game Changers program, which you guys will hear more about, and then also our gender equity clubs at both Oregon and East High School. And other just youth kind of advocacy and service essentially when students need additional support outside of their the things that they do with us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Could you talk a little bit more about like what type of support you provide to particularly high school students? I know you work mostly with high school students, but like the types of work that you do with gender equity and like the type of advocacy work that you do?
Absolutely. So we are at two high schools, and again, that's pretty strategic. One is a little bit more of a rural school and one is more of an urban school. Both schools' needs are very different. And I would say that's like the one of the most important things to know with working with students. Like every school is going to be different and every school's needs are different. So what it looks like at Oregon High School is doing like a lot of education and then like some school-based kind of awareness projects. So I would say students are really hungry for information at Oregon High School. I would say social issues are a little bit less talked about in everyday classes versus East High School. So essentially, like if there is a topic they want to learn about, like we recently talked just about some like consent 101 and healthy relationships, talking kind of a little bit about like what do we look for in relationships? What are things that are great? What are deal breakers? Just giving them some more like skills and vocabulary to really, I think, kind of begin their like activism advocacy career. And also like we are looking to kind of expand it more into like education. So the goal in Oregon has always kind of been around like peer education, and that's still where we're trying to go. So right now, we're just trying to kind of give students the same information they just got in their gender equity club. So kind of post stuff around the school about what healthy relationships look like, what not healthy relationships look like, and then students will decide what other things does our school need to know about. Do we need to talk to students about Title IX and what their rights are? Do we need to make sure there are free menstrual products in all the bathrooms? Just whatever they feel is a need in their school, that's what we're going to do. So that's one. And then our other gender equity club is at East High School. And East High School is, again, very different, very like well educated and really connected to like social issues. And I would say like activism and advocacy already. So at East, what we really do is similar, like talking about what the school needs, but they are very action oriented. So what that looks like is some stuff that we just saw in the news. Students, along with other organizations such as the Black Student Union, Indigenous Student Union, other student orgs, I want to make sure they get credit too, organized a series of walkouts when they felt, and we know that sexual assault and the response was being grossly mishandled at their school, and also had some leadership say some very inappropriate things that should never be said to survivors at any age. So we have worked in, again, this is not new for gender equity. So I would say since I've been in this position at East High School, they've been working on things like staff trainings, on stuff like sexual harassment, mandated reporting, gaslighting, and then also working to develop like peer education. We know that peer education is a lot more effective than like adult to student education, especially around stuff like consent or like anything where you have to be vulnerable. Being vulnerable is hard. So with peers, sometimes it's a little bit, a little bit easier. So in that capacity, like at East, I'm really just helping them organize, try to connect them with resources they need. baseline at both schools, I'm listening to students, which all adults need to do, when asking them kind of what do you need in your school and what can we do to help that. And then students are really great around stuff like education and action planning about how they can improve their school. So right now we're still in conversations at East about what kind of trainings, education need to happen with staff and what needs to happen with students. Obviously, the logistics of that is complicated. So figuring out like how can we realistically do this in a way that's going to be effective. So that's a very long answer, but that's what we're doing in both schools.
No, that's great. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
explaining a bit more on that. And that's really, really important work. So thank you for all that you do on that.
absolutely.
Um, you've been with RCC for a minute now, I think
Yes.
around 4-ish.
4 to 5 years. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been here for a while. So are there any, just to kind of like close out, like, I'm wondering, are there any like reflections that you have or insights that you could share about working with youth in this particular moment and in the past? And why is it so important that we have public, community, and like donor support for the work that we do?
Yes. So one of the first things I was going to say is like we need to, so what I've learned like working with youth know what they need and they are here to lead us. So I think as adults, and I mean not just parents, not just school administrators, I really mean like every community member that live in school districts to listen to students. What are they asking for? Are they seeing needs that aren't being met? How do we create accountability for adults who are supposed to be helping students? So I would say one thing that I've learned is community buy-in is really important. When students feel their community supporting them, when students feel adults stepping up to say, I believe these students, I believe they know what they're doing, that's incredibly powerful for them. And I've seen skill and confidence like take form after that happens. So support and especially donor support is so important for youth programs. Just because we need to show them that we are literally investing in them. This is our future. Our students are our future, and we must invest in them in order to show them we value what you're saying. And also, we're betting on you. And they absolutely will deliver. So I would say like letting students lead and showing them that we have confidence in them, just because they know what's happening in their schools. They know what's happening in the community, between different friend groups, and can help us inform how we do education. Um, it's also on a more basic note, like we can't do our programming that we do without donor support. We rely so much on things like volunteers, on like folks donating, and appreciate it so much. I can tell you from experience, students appreciate like any donations, any support of RCC in general. It affirms that their community cares not only about them, but about survivors. Our students care a lot about survivors. And we need to show them again that we're invested in them. So I would say letting students lead, not only that, but like supporting them. And we know, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever, like monetary support's an important part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then just to close, do you want to just share with folks like what's a favorite part of your job?
I do love my job so much. So my absolute favorite part of my job is the moments I see like a light bulb go off in students,
Mm.
like minds or heads, whatever. Sometimes it's a collective light bulb with a group of folks who are learning about something and realizing like, oh my God, I knew there were social systems that were working in ways that I wasn't sure how, but I knew like this was not equitable. Students, again, these are difficult moments, but also really important moments, realizing like, oh, I think I'm engaging in certain unhealthy relationships or dynamics in some places. And then like my most favorite thing is seeing when students realize how powerful they are. So seeing students create change and not accept what adults are telling them to settle for, which essentially a lot of the time adults are not thinking about student safety in a really realistic way, that can be sometimes uncomfortable. So I would say my favorite parts are those things, seeing just like new ideas like that they've literally never heard of before, new like history that they maybe never learned about, learning that, and then them coming to the realization that they have enormous power, and they give me hope. And I think we all need hope right now. So I would say the hope that they provide me in the future is one of my favorite parts of the job.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing the work that you do with us. It's so important and you do such an incredible job. So thank you so much, Heather. Appreciate you.
You are so welcome. Thank you, Ree.